Okay, I said that I would read a ghost story from this 100-year-old newspaper. This is a county newspaper called, well, it says here Kent Messenger, but the full title is the Kent and Maidstone Messenger. And I've not read all the story. I'm quite excited about it. It's called Night of Terror, Mystery of Haunted Maidstone House. The text is quite faint and it's very small type. It does the job, but it's not easy to read off the page. I think I'll break it in two and read one half now and then upload another video, and I'll add some commentary at the end if you want to hang around. So here we go. Night of Terror, Mystery of Haunted House. Mystery of Haunted Maidstone House. If you're not familiar with Maidstone, I believe it's the capital of the county. Anyway, who cares? It's a city in England. Weird crashes and rumblings behind locked doors. The uncanny bedstead knobs. Terrific crashes as of the smashing of 100 plates. Sudden bangs, like the dropping of a dozen heavy weights, ornaments, which flew up the stairs and clattered down them. Bedstead knobs, which unscrewed themselves and fell onto the floor. The shaking of a bed by unseen hands. Such are the amazing features of the account of a night of horror spent by a family in Malling Terrace, Maidstone, this week. The story has elements of mystery which are worthy of the imagination of an Edgar Allan Poe. It does say that, there's no noun after Edgar Allan Poe. It all occurred in the stillness of the night on Saturday at number 15, a house occupied by an old couple, Mr. William Green, aged 70 years, and his wife, Mrs. Mary Jane Green, aged 74 years. With them in the house was their granddaughter, Miss Grace Smith, who is 16 years of age. The family retired to rest at about 11 o'clock, Mr. and Mrs. Green sleeping in the front bedroom, and the girl in the back of the house, only a few feet separating the doors of the two rooms. It was not many minutes later that hair-raising things began to happen. I had only just closed my eyes for what seemed a few seconds, Mr. Green told a Kent Messenger representative, when I heard a terrific din. At first it appeared to come from above our heads and sounded as if the mortar was falling from beneath the tiles onto the ceiling of our room. Then, almost immediately afterwards, the noise seemed to travel across to the ceiling of the back room. It was a weird, terrible banging and crashing accompanied by a sort of clattering in the other room itself. My wife was also awake, and she said to me, "The ceiling's fallen in." "Oh, what can have happened?" I replied. "I had better go and have a look." With that, we got out of bed and lighted a candle and went into my granddaughter's room. There I saw she was still asleep, but one of the brass knobs on the top of the post at the head of the bed had become unscrewed and fallen onto the floor. The noise of its falling had, strangely enough, not awakened the girl. I picked up the knob and screwed it on again, and, waking my granddaughter, left a light in the room. My wife and I then went back to bed. My glasses keep falling down my face. It's very off-putting. Okay. Well, the first thing I thought was the girl is 16. Quite often with poltergeist cases, you do get teenagers involved, or pubescent teenagers, should we say. Now, some people think that the poltergeist stories are essentially just ESP. It's something to do with an unconscious projection of power from the teenager. But I think actually it's more likely that they are conduits, and you don't always need a teenager to have poltergeist activity. It just seems to be that it increases the probability. Anyway, let's continue. Bedstead knobs again unscrewed. All the time we were out of bed, he continued, there was no disturbance, but directly our heads touched the pillows, it all started again. There were more rumblings and crashings in the back room and above our heads. It was an unearthly noise and made us think that the house was really falling to pieces. We again went into the other room and found the child sitting up in bed and looking very frightened. I said to her, "What's happened now?" And she said she had heard the knocks at the top of the bedposts being unscrewed and thrown to the floor. There I found them lying. I again picked them up and replaced them, screwing them on tightly. We then took the girl into our room and, leaving the candle burning where it was, returned to bed. Again, all the time we were up, the noises ceased. Besides being a ghost story, this is a wonderful snapshot of the time. Of course, electricity did exist at that time, but it was obviously still somewhat of a luxury, and this must have been, I'm guessing, a kind of typical house, and they were using candles just 100 years ago. I mean, my granny was born in 1920, so she was born 5 years before this story. Anyways, where are we? Stranger incidents were, however, to occur, and this proved to be but the commencement of nearly 3 hours of uncanny crackings, scrapings, and crashes. The old people had no sooner got into bed for the third time than they heard a terrific smashing noise from the direction of the kitchen. Mrs. Green cried out, "Oh, there's the shelf and all my crockery fallen down." The falling of the imaginary mortar onto the ceilings of the bedrooms was renewed, and there were weird clatterings in the other room, accompanied by the thud of something dropping onto the floor and striking against the wainscoting. Mr. Green again set out to investigate. Holding the candlestick aloft, he went into the rear bedroom. There he found, to his amazement, that the knobs of the bedstead had again both become detached and fallen. A small wooden bracket, which had been nailed onto the wall, was lying on the floor on the opposite side of the room, while the wooden top of an article of furniture had slid underneath the bed. For the third time that night, Mr. Green picked up one of the knobs and, replacing it, calling out to his wife, and very hard to read. I'm trying to get everything right. The third time that night, Mr. Green picked up one of the knobs and replaced it, calling out to his wife as he did so, "I'm only going to put one of them back this time, as I suppose they will have them off again before the night's out." He was a true prophet. They did! Exclamation mark. Gosh, I'm not even halfway through that. Whew. So, just a few comments. I'm going to check this is filming as well. I'm a bit paranoid. Okay. Yeah. So, thoughts on this? Well, this is a remarkable story. I mean, these kind of hauntings are relatively uncommon in the paranormal world. And this is really a long period of sustained activity. So it's amazing to have come across this story, and I've never heard it before. I wouldn't say I'm sort of a world authority on ghosts or anything, but I do know a lot of the major ghost stories, and I don't know this one. And I don't even know if it ever got beyond this newspaper, if it made it into a book or what have you. So to come across it is amazing. But I always find it interesting that in cases such as these, people think it can be faked. The logical explanation is that that is paranormal, and then any other explanation is illogical, and it becomes a matter of faith. Because how on earth does a 16? I mean, who are you going to point the blame at? Neighbors? You've basically got 3 witnesses, and you've got absolute mayhem going on all over the house. Could it be faked? Why would it be faked? But okay, let's say, can it be faked? Yes. If no, not really. No, I think it would take in 1925 to break into somebody's house and set all of that up would be very difficult. And all the noise and all the unearthly noises. And when they say unearthly, they really mean it, because I can actually speak from personal experience. I must say, I didn't become a believer in the paranormal because of my personal experience. I've always been a believer on the basis of solid witness testimony like this. And frankly, my paranormal experiences are very modest. But I did stay in a hotel in Oxfordshire called the Bear Hotel some years ago. And long story short, I heard a very strange sound in a supposedly haunted room. And it was very hard to describe afterwards what that sound was, because it was unearthly. It was something that I could not really put my finger on. And in trying to explain it to people, I always said, well, it sounded like a heavy piece of furniture being dragged across the floor, but that was an approximation. Now, if you've got a house where you've got 3 hours of continuous activity and there's stuff being thrown all over the place, and it's happening in different rooms, and things are being thrown about and going under beds and what have you, and the house sounds like it's falling to pieces, then no, I don't think that is due to an earthquake or somebody faking it, or mice, or pipes, or whatever the other numerous daft explanations that skeptics come up with. Or indeed, do I think that the people are lying? This is a textbook haunting. If people are lying, you would see an inconsistency between stories like this, because people would sort of be mixing things, and the nature of hauntings would begin to change as well if they were a human creation. But this very, very closely matches exactly what people describe in the case of poltergeists. And the interesting thing about it is it seems, if I've read it correctly, is that it's a mixture of things really being moved and thrown, and things sounding like they're being moved and thrown. And again, that is something they wouldn't necessarily know, but that is absolutely spot on. The scratchings and the clawings and the scrapings and the bangings, a lot of that can actually somehow not be in this dimension. It's you can hear it, and of course, when they hear it, is it actually sound being made, or are they hearing it psychically? I say that because I think it is sound being made. But again, one of the things that skeptics often say with ghosts is, well, if it exists, let's get it on camera. And that ignores the fact that if it exists, it's breaking the laws of science as they are known. And then if it's breaking the laws of science as they are known, then you shouldn't be presuming that you can catch it on camera. So that gives you more of a clue of the limitations of the worldview of the person, specifying the type of evidence that they want. Now, of course, it so happens that ghosts can be caught on camera. But Another one of my modest experiences was that I lived in a relatively new flat in Wales before I lived in this house. It was actually built in the 70s, I think. But I'm pretty sure it was haunted. But it was very low level a very low level type of haunted, shall we say. And the most haunted room was the lounge. And we were sat in the lounge one time, just two of us, and we heard this clicking sound. And we were recording a conversation that we were having, so we picked it up on our recording device, but we both agreed that it was much louder to us than it was on the recording device. And the interesting thing there is that the recording device had much higher sensitivity than we did. In other words, it could hear further than we could, and yet when responding to this sound, it was as if it was a reversed roles, and it had bad hearing and we had good hearing. So that's just kind of a by the by. But I heard somewhere that when ghosts appear, when they manifest to people, and that really is also incredibly rare, but it does happen. What they're doing supposedly is projecting themselves telepathically into that person's mind. And you might say, well, if that's true, why are they caught on camera, and why are they caught on videotape? So how do they make their way onto chips and to tape and other mediums that capture them? And the answer is that the ghost manipulates them. So how they do that, of course, is way beyond our understanding. But you'll have noticed that when you watch these paranormal videos of ghosts that have been caught, the person never sees them at the time that they're videoing it. It's always afterwards that they notice. And I just wonder if they they don't notice at the time because the camera captures it, but they actually couldn't see anything. And that's a completely different subject that has nothing to do with this story. So I've gone off a bit here, off track here. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the first half of that ghost story.